Welcome everyone to an experiential presentation on mindfulness. We are here in the Angel Garden. My name is Dr. Aileen Fullchange. I'm a licensed psychologist here in Dallas, Texas. I work with families, couples, individuals, and one of the things that I love about the work that I do is that I get to introduce a lot of my clients to the practice of mindfulness. So what is mindfulness? Well, let's dive in and actually experience mindfulness for a few minutes. So for this activity, go ahead and get comfortable in your chair. You're welcome to put your feet flat on the floor, or if your feet don't reach, just let them hang. You're welcome to close your eyes if you'd like to. That's an option. Or another option is to keep your eyes open and maybe look at a spot on the floor. You're welcome to put your hands in your lap or at your side. It's up to you where you want to put your hands. And we'll just do a mindfulness activity that invites you to bring awareness to your body from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. So let's start with the top of your head. So I want you to just notice whatever feelings are there at the top of your head. Perhaps noticing the hair on your head and the breeze, if you're outside, perhaps noticing tension in your scalp. Perhaps you can notice each hair growing out of your head. And then we'll move down to the face, noticing the muscles around your eyes, noticing your cheeks, your mouth. Is your mouth open or closed? Noticing your jaw. Sometimes people have a tendency to clench their jaw. Just notice that without any judgment, just notice. Then we'll move down to the neck and shoulder area, and I invite you just to notice whatever feelings are coming up there. There might be even pain that comes up there in the neck and shoulder area. You're welcome to even move your shoulders up and down. Just notice what is that like? What are the feelings there? Can you notice the weight of your shoulders? Then we'll move down to the arms. Just notice what feelings there are in your arms. Are your arms heavy? Do they feel light? You're welcome to move them around, maybe wiggle them around a little bit, just to notice what do your arms feel like in this very moment. Then we'll move down to your hands. You're welcome to wiggle your fingers a little bit. Rotate your wrists, just noticing what your wrists feel like, what your hands feel like. Are your palms sweaty? Are they dry? Are they warm? Just noticing. Then we'll come back to the front of our body, just checking with how your chest feels. You might notice your chest rising with each inhalation, going down with each exhalation. Just notice what that feels like. Notice your belly. Is your belly full right now? Or is it empty or somewhere in between? There might even be discomfort there. The invitation is just to notice whatever feelings are coming up. There's no wrong feelings, no wrong sensations. Then I invite you to check in with your back. How does your back feel? Can you notice your spine, the curvature of your spine? If you're seated, you might notice pressure against your back from the chair. Just observe and notice that. And it's okay if you don't notice any feelings at all. That's okay. Then we'll move down to your sit bones. Can you notice the pressure of the chair underneath you? Can you notice your body weight against the chair? Then we'll move to your thighs, just noticing what that feels like, maybe from the inside. Your knees, if you want to, you can give your knees a little wiggle, maybe moving them back and forth, maybe shaking your legs a little bit. And the invitation is just to notice, what do your legs feel like right now in this moment? We'll move down to your ankles. If you want to, you can make circles with your heels or your feet, noticing what your ankles feel like. And then your toes. Give your toes a little wiggle if you want to. Notice what your toes feel like. Maybe you notice the space between your toes. Maybe you notice your toes in your shoes if you're wearing shoes. And then finally, I invite you just to take a couple of breaths to see if you can notice your body as a whole. It's okay if you can't. It's okay if you notice certain parts of your body. It's okay if you don't notice anything in your body. And take maybe a couple more breaths to eventually flutter your eyes open if your eyes were closed. And welcome back. So we just did a little brief mindfulness practice. Okay, so you might be wondering, well, what is mindfulness? So let me break this down. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention in the present moment without judgment. So let me say that again, because there's three parts there. Paying attention in the present moment without judgment. And let me break it down even more, okay? So the first part I said was paying attention. So what that means is paying attention intentionally, on purpose. So when we talk about mindful attention, we're talking about not the sort of distracted attention that happens, like, for example, sometimes I'll sit on the couch and just flip through the TV channels. And when I do that, that's distracted attention. When I'm flipping through and I'm like, oh yeah, I like that TV show, or I don't like that one, or gosh, that football game's going on. Let me watch that. Okay, now let me look at that soap opera. That's distracted attention. In mindful attention, we are intentionally focusing on something in particular. For example, like what you did just a few minutes ago, where you intentionally focused on perhaps the top of your head. The second part is in the present moment. So we pay attention in the present moment. And the reason for that is because, well, the only thing that we really have control over is the present moment, the here and now. Can't control the past, because that already happened. Can't control the future, because it hasn't happened yet. So we focus on the present. Now, for some people, thinking too much about the past can lead to feelings of depression, sadness. For some people, thinking too much about the future can lead to worry, nervousness, anxiety. So we focus on the here and the now, this very moment, because ultimately that is the only thing that we have power and control over. And part of this mindfulness practice is finding what it is that we do have control over. Okay, so we said paying attention in the present moment. And the third part is without judgment. Okay, so what do we mean by that? When we say without judgment, we're not saying we gotta love everything that's going on. Without judgment means without pushing away, without hiding, without denying, without trying to deny reality, right? So we notice what's happening fully, whether that is something comfortable or uncomfortable. So for example, maybe as we were doing the mindfulness activity just a few moments ago, maybe there were places in your body that felt uncomfortable or even painful. And the idea is to notice those, because that reality is real, whether or not we try to push it away, right? Okay. So that's paying attention in the present moment without judgment. Now, there are a lot of benefits to mindfulness. The research around mindfulness has really been burgeoning in the last 50 years or so. And the research is very promising. Mindfulness has so many benefits for both the mind and the body. So for example, we know from the research that mindfulness helps with depression symptoms, with anxiety symptoms, with stress levels, with concentration. And some studies show that mindfulness is just as effective as medication. That's pretty powerful, right? And then also we know that mindfulness has a lot of benefits for the body. So for example, one of the studies or one of the areas of research shows that people who practice mindfulness tend to sleep better, and they tend to sleep more. So both the quality and the quantity of sleep is improved. And we know how important sleep is for mental health, for immune functioning, and we know if we don't get enough sleep, we get irritable. We also know from the research that mindfulness helps with immune functioning specifically. Those who practice mindfulness tend to have immune systems that are stronger, healthier. In other words, mindfulness can help us heal from injuries, from illness. There are also a number of studies that show that mindfulness helps with pain management. In folks with chronic pain, mindfulness can help to decrease the distress of the pain. So even though people might be experiencing pain, it doesn't cause as much suffering, right? And this is a very interesting piece about mindfulness, because a lot of suffering comes from that negative judgment, that pushing away, that denying, right? And so it sounds like from the research that when we practice that non-judgmental piece of mindfulness, we no longer have to use that energy toward fighting against the pain, which is part of what suffering is, right? Pain is part of life. Suffering, not necessarily, right? So that's the idea behind mindfulness. And there's just research that shows that people who practice mindfulness are generally just happier people with higher quality relationships, higher life satisfaction, more contentment. So as you can see, mindfulness is pretty powerful. On the other hand, though, there are a lot of myths about mindfulness. So one of the most common myths about mindfulness is that mindfulness is a religious practice. Now, let's break that one down. So the roots of mindfulness come from some 1,000-year-old traditions in Buddhism and Hinduism. But mindfulness in and of itself has nothing to do with religion. It's not a religious practice. I think about an analogy, kind of like singing. Like, do any of y'all sing? Have any of you sung in a choir? Okay, maybe some of you have. Now, have any of you sung in the bathroom, in the shower? Some of you have, probably, right? If you sing in a choir, your singing is about religion. But if you're singing in the shower, you could be singing about anything, right? And singing in and of itself isn't a religious practice. It's the same kind of thing with mindfulness. Mindfulness is not, the way that we talk about it certainly, in the medical field, in the psychology field, is not about religion. It doesn't contradict or conflict with religion either. Another myth about mindfulness is that in order to do mindfulness and practice it, you gotta have a blank mind with no thoughts, no feelings. Let me tell you, that's a complete myth. Actually, a lot of mindfulness practices ask us to focus on those thoughts and feelings that we have. So if we didn't have any, there wouldn't be anything to practice mindfulness with. Along a similar line, there's a myth that in order to practice mindfulness, you can't have an active mind. Well, the truth is that you absolutely can practice mindfulness with an active mind. The only difference between mindfulness practice with someone with a less active mind versus someone with an active mind is that the person with a less active mind, their mindfulness practice might look like something like, oh, I'm noticing a few thoughts, a few feelings, versus the person with an active mind, their practice might look like, wow, I'm noticing a lot of thoughts and feelings. That's the difference. But you can still practice mindfulness, no matter how many thoughts, how many feelings you have. Okay? I think that one of the really cool things about mindfulness is that you can practice it in so many different ways. You can practice it with all of your senses. You can practice it with your sense of sight. For example, right now, you can just look around and count how many unique different colors do you see just where you are. Right? Just noticing that. And look, you've practiced mindfulness with your sense of sight. You can practice mindfulness with your sense of hearing. Just listening right now, what noises do you hear right now? You might even notice my voice. Can you notice the individual sounds in my voice? Right? And look, now you've practiced mindfulness with your sense of hearing. You can practice mindfulness with your sense of taste. The next time you have a lunch or dinner, just really noticing each texture in your mouth, each taste, each flavor in your mouth. You can practice mindfulness with your sense of touch. In fact, right now I invite you, you can put your hand on, either if you're sitting, you can put it in your lap and just notice the texture that's there, or you can put something in your hand. You can put one hand in the other hand and just notice, like really notice, what do you feel right now in your hand? Is it warm? Is it cold? Is it soft? Are there feelings that come up when you feel whatever it is you're feeling, right? And of course, you can practice mindfulness with your thoughts, your feelings, just noticing what those thoughts and feelings are, right? One of the practices for that is just writing down your thoughts and feelings as they come. So as you can see, there are many, many ways to practice mindfulness. And you know what my favorite thing about mindfulness is? Is that it's free. Right? You don't have to go to, pay for an app or go to a class or any of that. It's free. It's free and the benefits are with you even between practices. So the research shows that even when you're not doing mindfulness, it's almost like going to the gym, right? You go to the gym, you're getting stronger in the gym. But even when you're not going to the gym, you still have that strength with you. That's what mindfulness is. It's something that builds our mental strength, if you will. So now you've got access to a powerful tool for your mind and body, and it's free. So go out, practice mindfulness, and be well.